I see so many people using cardio and walking as a method to lose weight. But actually, this is a poor way to lose weight. It actually can make you hungrier throughout the day, eating more unhealthy food when you do this the wrong way. Instead, I'm going to share 3 better ways to achieve quick weight loss, which takes half the amount of time and you'll get double the results. These tips work so well, you don't even have to change your nutrition in order to start seeing results with weight loss. Let's start with the first step. The first part of your protocol is to walk at the right time. I want to make it clear, walking is great for you, and it will assist in weight loss only when you do it at the right time and at the right pace, which I'm going to talk more about later. But let's talk about the right time first. Timing your walks after your meals will get you the biggest weight loss benefits. Here's why. If your goal is to lose weight, then the goal should be to lower your postprandial glucose response. What the heck does that mean? That is the glucose and insulin response you get after eating a meal. The higher your blood sugar stays elevated after a meal, the longer you're going to be in a fat storage state. When you eat food, you convert that food into strings of sugar called your glycogen. Your glycogen gets stored in your glycogen stores, your liver and your muscle cells. Your body has a tightly controlled system for sugar in your bloodstream. An optimal state for your metabolism is only 1 teaspoon of sugar in the entire bloodstream, which is equivalent to 80 milligrams per deciliter if you're testing your blood glucose levels. So when you eat a meal, sugar gets elevated in the bloodstream, which then signals to your pancreas to produce insulin to take that excess sugar out of the bloodstream and put it into those glycogen stores, your liver and your muscle cells. Insulin is an energy sensor, and it senses sugar in the bloodstream and it activates to take it out of the bloodstream. Once your glycogen stores are full, then the remaining sugar goes into your fat cells, and it could go into your liver cells, your pancreatic cells, and it can make what's called fatty liver disease or fatty organs. Here's the thing, the longer sugar stays elevated in your bloodstream, the more insulin is going to be produced. The more insulin that is produced, the more you are not burning fat, but instead storing fat, which is the opposite of what you want to achieve. Postprandial glucose is a measurement of how long you're in a fat storage state after you eat that meal. Of course, you can test your postprandial blood glucose an hour or 2 hours after eating to see this, but that's not really necessary in the case of this lesson. The faster we can clear glucose from the bloodstream, put it into your muscle and liver cells, will mean the faster you go back to a fat burning state. One of the best ways to achieve this is with a 30-minute walk right after you eat that meal. When you go for that walk after you eat a meal, it activates something called the GLUT4 transporters. And the GLUT4 transporters help insulin do its job more efficiently and quicker. As a matter of fact, here's a study that shows the benefits of walking after a meal. The title of the study is The Effects of Postprandial Walking on the Glucose Response After Meals with Different Characteristics. And check out what the study showed. Postprandial brisk walking substantially reduced the glucose peak in both studies, with no significant differences across conditions. When evaluating the glycemic response throughout the 2 hours post-meal, postprandial walking was more effective even after consuming low carbohydrate meals, a mixed meal, or even a high carbohydrate meal, meaning it doesn't matter what you're eating, you're still going to benefit when you go for a walk. The study went on to show that although the higher glucose was observed from higher carbohydrate meals, in the case of this, a drink, our findings show that a 30-minute postprandial brisk walking session improves the glycemic response after meals, no matter what the macronutrient composition. This has implications for postprandial exercise prescription and daily life scenarios. Therefore, your first step in this protocol is to go for a 30-minute walk after all of your meals. Now, if that is unrealistic to do after all your meals, then choose the biggest meal of your day and then go for a 30-minute walk right after, and you'll get into a fat-burning state much faster. The second step here is to create something called walking adaptations. Walking adaptations forces your body to adapt to different patterns and trends, which actually helps you get faster results. This confuses your body, confuses your muscle, and accelerates fat burning. Every great fitness coach and personal trainer understands the benefit of adaptation. If you ever work with a great fitness coach or personal trainer, they're constantly changing up your workout routine. As soon as you get comfortable, it changes up because it keeps the body adapting and guessing, and it helps you to continue to get results. This is why the really highly successful program P90X many years ago was very successful, because of their muscle confusion routine. All of this relates to a principle called hormesis. When you learn this principle, it'll change everything you know about health for the better. Hormesis is defined as a phenomenon in which a harmful substance gives stimulating and beneficial effects to living organisms, humans, when the quantity of the harmful substance is small. The best example I could show here is with exercise, and walking can be classified as exercise. You can see on the screen here how hormesis works with exercise. When you're doing too little exercise, you're going to be on the left side there in that orange little dash, which shows you're getting too little oxidative stress. It's not enough to create an adaptation and a stress beneficial response. But when you find your hormetic zone, you can see right there in the top middle, that is the hormetic zone. What happens, you can see, ROS goes down, which is reactive oxygen species, inflammation. Activity of antioxidant enzymes are increased, oxidative damage is decreased, oxidative damage repair is increased, and your resistance to oxidative stress is increased. Now, what happens if you do too much exercise? Then you go back below the curve and you can see all the opposite effects happen and you actually inflame the body. So the goal is to stay in a hormetic zone. We can apply this principle to the stress of walking when you create specific adaptations that I'm going to share with you in a minute. Now, how do you create those adaptations? Okay, here are my favorite ways to do so. When you go for that 30-minute walk after a meal, or even outside of that 30-minute walk from a meal, here are some ways to achieve adaptation. Walking on an incline on a treadmill could work. You could also walk on a hilly road that goes up and down. There are also under-the-desk treadmills that you can put underneath your stand-up desk to create this response as well, so you could actually benefit from walking and burning fat while you're working. Walking backwards or sideways is a great way to change things up and create adaptation. When you walk backwards, it's also great to strengthen your knees. I know you're thinking, but if I walk in the streets backwards, my neighbors are going to think I'm crazy. Good, because they'll ask you why you're doing it, and then you can share this video and podcast with them. Walking outside in the elements is also a way to create adaptation. And if you really want to get the most benefits here, you want to go outside when the sun is rising and when the sun is setting, because that's when you're really going to sync your hormones and it's going to optimize inflammation and actually help you burn more fat as well. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator is another way to create adaptation. When I used to live in a condominium with my fiance, we lived on the 4th floor and I rarely took the elevator. I would take the steps up and down throughout the day. Even my dog, when I would walk him, we would go down the stairs and up the stairs. And the final way to create an adaptation is when you're looking for a parking spot, instead of driving around for minutes for the closest parking spot, park at the first available parking spot and walk to the store and walk back to your car. Great bonus points there, and you're going to be outdoors in the elements as well. It all adds up. The third step here in your protocol is to increase the intensity over time. This goes hand in hand with tip number 2, the adaptation principle of hormesis. Most people walk at just a casual pace, which doesn't really elevate the metabolism. It doesn't create a response to help you burn fat and lose weight. When you increase your speed or even add some weights or create an energy demand, that's where you get the benefits. You can test out your walking pace by walking and talking. If you're walking and you're able to speak fluently and you're not out of breath, you're able to hold a conversation, that means your pace is too slow. What you want to be is a little bit out of breath, where you're walking and let's say you're talking at the same time and testing this out. You want to be at a pace where you're pausing, having to catch your breath, and then to continue speaking. That's a good high intensity pace. So do the walking and talking test to see if you're at a good pace or not. If your intensity is at a level for optimal fat loss, you should have a shortness of breath. Some things you can do to add intensity to your walks is holding dumbbells in each of your hands as you walk. The extra load of the weight forces your body to adapt, and again, that's where the magic happens. And I would say aim to get about 10,000 steps per day. Now, if you're somebody watching this and you're only getting about 5,000 steps, then I'm not saying to go to 10,000 steps on day one. Build your way up. But I do believe having a minimum of 10,000 steps per day and doing it at the right time with the right adaptations is where you're going to get the most benefits for weight loss. I personally have been getting about 12 to 15,000 steps every day. And I used to be a former obese man 16 years ago. I lost 80 pounds of fat and I've been able to stay lean, and a big part of that is the protocol I shared with you today. And if I could do it, you could do it too. If you enjoyed this video, I just released an episode all about 3 easy ways to lose stubborn belly fat in less than a week. And this works so well and so easy, you're gonna get results in the next few days, in less than a week. The best part, it's not restrictive, you're not relying on willpower, you don't have to count a single calorie, and you're not even going to cut calories because we're gonna focus on something else.